Welcome in, everybody, to the Raiders 2025 season preview. I'm Amber Theoharis. Every year, hope reigns eternal at this time of year for every team, but this year does feel a little bit different. Why? Because new head coach Pete Carroll and GM John Spytek have been to the mountaintop. They have hoisted Lombardi trophies, and they know what it takes to get to that moment. Both have said that they came to Vegas to win now. Not 3 years from now, no excuses, just win today, baby. And to break down how they plan to do that, let's welcome in my colleague, our first guest, Raiders.com columnist Paul Gutierrez. And Paul, always good to hang out with you and talk a little Raiders. I just said this year feels different. Why specifically should there be optimism heading into this Raiders season?
Thanks, Amber. Always glad to join you, too. Yeah, and the reason being, you hit on it, is that Pete Carroll and John Spytek have been there. They know what it looks like. They have the pelts on the wall, and everybody seemingly is on the same page from day one, back in January, when they arrived as a package deal, so to speak. You've watched throughout mini camp, OTAs, all of training camp to today, getting down to a 53-man roster. They are all on the same page, and the difference between this year and previous years, like I said, you got Pete Carroll, who's won a Super Bowl, who was a yard away from repeating. You got John Spytek, who paid numerous dues before getting in the seat as a first-time GM after 20-plus years of being in the scouting department, being an assistant GM. So they have all of that. They've got some frontline starters that are very explosive on offense. Defensively, you've still got Max Crosby out there. So it's kind of a top-heavy roster, so to speak, but there's reason for optimism because of all those reasons we just talked about. Where does it translate onto wins on the field? Well, that's why they play the season.
Well, one thing you got to have in the AFC West to win is a quarterback, and that's one thing that is very different. It's the stability, the feel of stability at that position with Geno Smith and new offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. What can we expect from this offense based on what you've seen in the preseason and training camp?
Yeah, and that's always the million-dollar question in the preseason and the exhibition season, really, because it's so vanilla. Teams aren't going to show their hands ultimately, but you want them to get some run. You want them to see what the vibe is like. That's why kind of those preseason scrimmage practices against other teams probably give you a little bit more of a gauge as to where a team is, and the Raiders did that with the 49ers. Now, in their 3 exhibition games, they came away 0-2-1. Sure, every time you take the field, you want to win a game, but you also got some good work in there. So what you saw from the offense, their last 3 of their last 4 drives of the preseason, they scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal. So that's something to hang your hat on going forward. Again, very vanilla in the preseason. Now we get to see exactly what it looks like. And with a new quarterback in Geno Smith, who has that great relationship with Pete Carroll from their days in Seattle, to a first-team All-Pro tight end in Brock Bowers, to the best running back in the draft in Ashton Genty. They've got some weapons now. We'll see exactly what that looks like when it becomes real.
One new weapon is a familiar face that was just added to the roster. Amari Cooper is back in the silver and black. What can you tell us about what is expected, what his role is expected to be, and does it have any correlation to Jakobi Meyers?
Yeah, it's interesting with Jakobi Meyers. He was kind of the ultimate anti-diva receiver. You talk about receivers, you automatically look up diva in a dictionary, and there's a picture of a receiver. And yet Jakobi Meyers has never been that guy. Obviously, we can, we're not going to get in anybody's pocket here, but he wants a new contract extension. He wants to be paid accordingly. He's coming off his first 1,000-yard receiving season, career-type year for him, and he definitely is wide receiver 1 in this offense coming into at the end of training camp here. But he's not the top pass catcher. That's Brock Bowers. So they're at an impasse there. Amari Cooper coming in again. I'll do my Amari Cooper face now. And that's just the way he looks. But he's you don't know if he's too high, too low, whatever. I'm old enough to have covered him back in Oakland, and I was there that day when he was traded, and it was kind of a shock. But it was Coop and Crab and Coop, with Michael Crabtree and Derek Carr throwing him the ball. So he is. It's to be seen if he still is explosive as he was back then. But again, as we're talking about the pelts on the wall with Pete Carroll, he has multi-Pro Bowls to him, multi-1,000-yard receiving seasons. So he brings in that experience that maybe an offense, and as good as Brock Bowers was last year, maybe you still do need that veteran on the other side of the ball as well, especially for somebody like Thornton coming into his rookie year.
And look, anybody that has been covering the league like you and I have for a long time, you know that quarterbacks don't always stay healthy. You need a really good backup in this league. I think 66 some quarterbacks started a game last year in the NFL. And if you do the math, that's a lot more than 32. And so with Aidan O'Connell going down with a fractured wrist, it was clear that Pete Carroll needed somebody. He made it very well known. And now former first-round pick Kenny Pickett in the mix. How is he a fit for Chip Kelly's offense as a backup?
Well, he's a lot more mobile than Aidan O'Connell would be, and that's not a shot at Aidan O'Connell. It is what it is. With Kenny Pickett, he's a former first-round pick. What Pete Carroll said the day after that exhibition when Aidan O'Connell went down with the injury was he wanted somebody with game experience. And you went there and you start playing connect the dots. I wrote it on Raiders.com. You're trying to connect the dots to see different names of different guys that might be available out there. So for the Raiders to actually make a trade to bring him in, that tells you that he fits exactly what they want. Besides the game experience, he's more mobile. He's been out there. He broke the Raiders' hearts a couple of years ago by outplaying the franchise career passing leader in his last ever game for the Raiders, Derek Carr, on a cold night in Pittsburgh. So he has some game experience. But again, Raider fans, it's interesting. Backup quarterbacks, as the season goes on, especially if the season turns south, backup quarterbacks are always the most popular guy on a team because the quarterbacks take too much credit when things go right, too much of the blame when things go wrong. You don't want your backup quarterback ever playing. So if Kenny Pickett gets on the field, that means something went wrong. But for him to come in, he fills that gap of somebody that has that experience. Now he's got to learn this offense.
How much of this offense and the success in general of this offense is going to solely rely on two people? I mean, to me, it's Brock Bowers, number one, and Ashton Jeanty, number two. Actually, you could put Ashton Jeanty, number one, because if he doesn't run the ball effectively, it's going to be difficult to get Brock Bowers. But do you get the sense that so much rides on both of them having a good season?
I would even say this, Amber. I would say it probably rides more on the offensive line.
Correct.
Creating those holes for Ashton Jeanty to get through. B, maybe even 1A or even one, giving Geno Smith enough time to find Brock Bowers down the field, Amari Cooper, whoever it is that he's throwing the ball to. So yeah, this offense, what we saw, especially in the preseason, again, I know I'm kind of talking against myself here with how vanilla they were, but this offense is going to be predicated upon a strong running game, which is something that Pete Carroll wants, knows, and desires, because we've seen that in Seattle over the years. I saw it at USC. I'm sure you saw it there too. The play action pass game is what's really going to set this team apart in terms of having success going forward. So yeah, you're absolutely right. For me, it begins and ends with the big uglies down in the trenches with the offensive line. They've got to create those holes, and they've got to give Geno Smith time to find those guys.
It always matters. Just look at the most physical offensive line. They go on to win the Super Bowl and the Eagles last year. Yeah. It's always that way. Let's talk a little defense. The Raiders' front seven, to me, looked solid in the preseason. Felt good about the new veteran linebacking core. Seems like the defensive line has the ability to get to the second level. But cornerback might be a question mark. Take me through the secondary, and you see how this is shaping up.
It's interesting because we've known Pete Carroll over the years, the architect of the Legion of Boom in Seattle, and he's always kind of been seen as a defensive back guru. It's going to be a very fluid situation heading into week one. We've got 2 weeks now before that actually happens. I'm still not sure they've found a second starting cornerback opposite our guys that are out there. So we're going to figure out exactly what that looks like through these next 2 weeks. But the secondary in and of itself, it's interesting because you got guys that can play safety in Chin and Jamal Adams, but they got to also play linebacker, which is actually where Jamal Adams is lined up at. And just guys that are just playmakers that can fly around out there. Again, it goes back to this simple maxim of everything. Pass rush helps pass coverage helps the pass rush. So if Max Crosby and the guys can get to the quarterback first, that's going to help the cornerbacks as they're still learning this thing going forward. Stokes, that's the name I was trying to think of earlier. Eric Stokes as a starter. I don't know if who's going to be starting opposite him. But if the pass rush becomes more fearsome than what it has been in the past, that's going to help the cornerbacks anyway. But I fully expect that to be a fluid situation, especially at cornerback. Safeties, I think, are going to be a lot of fun to watch.
All right, let's talk about the future. Here we are. We're getting close to week one. This is so exciting. Let's talk about the first three opponents. You got the Patriots on the road, the Chargers at home, and then the Commanders all the way on the road in D.C. as they head east. So walk us through what you think we can expect from those first three games.
The Raiders need to get off to a quick start. They need to get off to a quick start, and they're gonna re-energize some old relationships in New England as well. A lot of former players went there. But also, their offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, a former head coach with the Raiders. So there should be some familiarity there, and that's where defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, who came with Josh McDaniels to the Raiders a couple of years ago, they're going to be playing 4D chess. It's not going to be regular chess. There's going to be some 4D chess going on both sides of the table there in New England. And it seems strange, but these are some old AFL rivals and fan bases here. And even if Tom Brady was sitting here, I'd still probably tell him, hey, it was a fumble. And you go from there. So week 2 home, then all of a sudden you got the what's your problem, man game between Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers coming in town. Again, another ancient AFL rival, but they've been in the same division forever too, and it's a good opportunity for the Raider fans to see it Monday night. The entire country is going to be watching. That's going to be awesome. And then on a short week, traveling again cross country to see Jaden Daniels and a Commanders team that really took the NFL by storm last year. And Raider fans, I think, and the coaching staff and Chin especially, having been a part of that team last year, that team kind of came out of nowhere and shocked the world to get to a conference title game. They're probably looking at themselves saying, hey, what the Commanders did last year, why not us?
Why not? They had quite a swing, though, as far as wins. I think it was 8 wins more than the previous year. Hey, the Raiders will take that, but they're going to start with week 1. How about give me a bold prediction? Bold prediction for the season.
Bold prediction, I'm going to say they're going to have a winning record, 9-8. Go from there. I don't know how bold that is, but where this team has been in the past, as long as everybody stays healthy, they're going to be competitive. They should be much improved. I don't know how that factors in just how brutal the AFC West is. But my bold prediction is winning record in the playoff hunt until the last month of the season, and we'll see exactly where they go from there.
Hey, that would be so exciting for Las Vegas. I know Raider Nation loves the sound of that playoff hunt come into December, early January. Thanks a lot, Paul Gutierrez. Check him out, Raiders.com. Always love reading all your stuff on there. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Coming up, former Raiders linebacker Kirk Morrison tells us what the strength of the Raiders defense might be. The Raiders season preview show is brought to you by Confirmed 360. Enter the Raiders pregame masquerade powered by Confirmed 360, a high-energy VIP tailgate with a twist. Visit RaidersExperiences.com to learn more. Allegiant, the official airline of the Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights, only at Allegiant.com. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And by Karma, the official luxury electric vehicle of the Las Vegas Raiders. Former Raiders linebacker and the newest member of the Raiders broadcast team, Kirk Morrison, joins us to break it all down. Kirk, it's so good to see you. I know you want to talk a little bit about defense as we get ready for the season.
I sure do, and I'm excited about this defense. So a lot to get to as we get ready to start this thing off.
Let's go.
That's less than 2 weeks.
That's right. All right, so 3 preseason games, lots of training camp. You've been there for all of it. What is the number one thing you're excited about when it comes to the defense?
I think that there's some depth that people don't realize. There's depth in position groups that I didn't realize that the team had. You start to look at the defensive tackle room, and before it was wild, there's no Christian Wilkins, but you look at the guys who are going to have an opportunity to play next to Adam Butler, whether it's Thomas Booker or Tonka Hemingway, J.J. Pegues. Like, those are some of the young rookie guys. And then you start to look at the Jonah Laulus. Like, there's a lot of depth at that particular position. I love the way that Charles Snowden has just kind of come along. He's added depth to the pass rushing element of the defense. And man, the secondary, I didn't expect the secondary to have so many different guys who can play right away at the corner, nickel corner, a little bit of safety. You got guys who can do multiple things, and don't get me started about this linebacking core, this revamped linebacking
That's where
core.
I was going.
A lot to love about this.
That's where I was going there
this
next. Yeah, tell me about him, because obviously the veteran presence is what stands out. These are guys that have been there, done that. They know what they're doing when they come to work. So what do you see from this group?
Well, I love the championship experience that they all have. I mean, Amber, when you think about it, bringing in Elandon Roberts, who's won 2 Super Bowls. You think about Devin White, who's won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You think about Jermaine Pratt, who played and started in the Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals. These are guys who have like championship type of experience. Then you bring in Jamal Adams, who's look, I don't think he's gotten enough credit from a guy who was a traditional safety in the early parts and lately of his career, has transitioned to linebacker and has shown to be a very versatile linebacker. I'm excited for this group because I don't know if I wish you could play them all. I wish you could play all four of these guys, but right now you can only put 3 or 2 at a time on the field, but they bring a level of expertise, physicality, and I think the championship pedigree that this defense has been needing.
I know you love them all. Unfortunately, in that nickel, only 2 are on the field about 66% of the time in the league, so slow down. But hopefully we get 3 of them out there sometimes. Let's talk about the safeties, though, because I think this is a strength, going to be something fun to watch. With Jeremy Chin, we all watched him go to the NFC Championship game with the Commanders. He's a banger. And then it has just felt like Isaiah Pola-Mao has been a rising star the last year in the NFL, and we could really be on the precipice of something big for him.
Yeah, I think I'll start with Polo Mao. You mentioned it. He is a calming force in that back end for this secondary group. Everyone that you talk to around the team, they all say the same thing. Like Polo Mao is a general back there. He doesn't have to speak loud. He just commands that huddle. He commands the back of that secondary. He's not going to let anything get behind him. He makes sure that everything stays in front of him. And we saw that in the first preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks, where he got the interception earlier in that football game. So you excited about what Polo Mal brings, but it's also helped unlock what I think is the most versatile player on this Raiders defense in Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin was going to play at 4 levels of this defense. He's going to play deep safety. He's going to play strong safety. He's going to play in the box as a linebacker. He's going to play on the line of scrimmage as a blitzer. He can do it all. And the reason why he's able to do it all is because of Isaiah Polomau, who can definitely cover him in areas where he can go play a deep safety and allow Jeremy Chin to be the playmaker. You mentioned it, Amber. Jeremy Chin started in the NFC Championship game last year for the Washington Commanders, and he also brings sort of that big time, long playoff run pedigree to a defense that's starving to play in some big time, meaningful playoff games.
You already talked about the defensive line, and the depth, but I want to go back to the pass rush. Clearly, Max Crosby cannot be the only one rushing the passer. He's going to get, going to put 2 blockers on him. So is Malcolm Kuntz the biggest danger on the opposite side? But should we not count out a guy like Tyree Wilson in the mix also that could really be a threat and make life a little bit easier for Max?
It's all about the palm, okay? And no, I'm not talking about the juice at Costco. I'm talking about POM, pressure opposite max. That's what I'm going with this year. And the pressure, the pressure opposite max has to come from Malcolm Kuntz. I think the injury last season and in this offseason, he's had to really regain his trust, regain being comfortable and getting off the football and showing the type of pass rusher that we envisioned him for last season until he got hurt. So I think we saw some good things in the final preseason game that showed that Malcolm Cooks is on the verge of getting back to where we once saw him just a couple seasons ago. And that's going to be crucial. We know the double teams are going to come Max's way, but now we'll see a guy like Malcolm Coots who can now get some more one-on-ones. And the guy I think we're not talking about enough, obvious passing situations. Amber, you love your nickel defense. Well, when the Raiders play nickel defense, Tyree Wilson comes in as a rusher. He's going to rush on the inside as a 3 technique interior rusher. His length, his size, like I said, his arms, he showed that he can get it done on the inside, I thought, through the preseason. And so I think that's where the pass rush comes opposite max. Pressure opposite max. So that's why I drink my palm juice. I'm calling it.
We're printing the T-shirts already right now, Kirk. I've been talking a lot throughout the show about the corner position because I like to keep it real with Raider Nation. They keep it real with me. I'm a little worried about the corner position because, as you said, there's a lot of guys that can play it. But who is the starter opposite Eric Stokes? I mean, Porter looked like a rookie at times, in my opinion, in the preseason. You know, how do you see this unit shaking out? Could we see the local guy Caillou Blue Kelly, get a real opportunity if he's healthy?
I think the preseason was not only competition for all of these guys, but I think it will be an ongoing competition, though, Amber. It doesn't stop because the regular season starts. I think I'm saying Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham, these coaches want to put the best players out there. So you're constantly competing for your job. I believe Eric Stokes has probably solidified one cornerback spot. When you think about the other cornerback spot, I think Caillou Blue Kelly is going to put himself in that situation as well. But remember, when the Raiders do go into this nickel defense, okay, Jeremy Chin plays the inside slot cornerback position. So now a safety goes to the backside with Isaiah Pola-Mao. So you think about it, Jeremy Chin is essentially an extra corner. So when the Raiders are in their base coverage, is it Caillou Blue Kelly, DeCamerion Richardson, right? Can he come along? And then you mentioned Darian Porter. He's just a rookie, but maybe it takes 2 or 3 games and Darian Porter really catches his confidence and he becomes a starter. So I just love the competition aspect of it. And at the end of the day, the best corner is going to play opposite Eric Stokes.
You know that with Pete Carroll in charge, that is for sure. He cares about those corners and that secondary. Patrick Graham, he's going to be on the field calling the plays. Why does this matter versus the booth?
I think it matters because Joe Woods now, who is a part of this defensive staff, who's called plays as a defensive coordinator in this league, he's going to be up in the booth. So you've got a defensive coordinator's eyes and Joe Woods in the booth, but Patrick Graham on the field, he's going to get a true feel of what the guys are seeing, what they're saying, the conversations. I love having my defensive coordinator on the field to be able to touch him, to be able to talk with him, just to be able to have those real time in game conversations. But more importantly, if there's anything, Amber, anything that needs to be cleared up, he can call up the defense and can coach it right there on the sideline, and everyone will have his attention. So I think that's going to be huge for this Raiders defense. Traditionally, for in my career as a linebacker, I loved having my D coordinator on the sideline just to have a conversation and talk with him. Just, hey, what are you seeing? This is what I'm seeing. This is what I feel. It's a different being down on the field versus up in the booth. But I think the Raiders have a lot of good minds that will now be in the booth and having the coordinator down on the field to really feel what's going on the field.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. You've got somebody up top that has got that experience. They've got your back, and then Patrick Graham can do what he needs to do to be and feel and be next to the players. I want you to finish this sentence. The Raiders could be a top defense if blank.
Raiders can be a top defense if they continually stop the run and create takeaways. This is a team that only got 13 takeaways last year, Amber. It's all about the ball when it comes to the Raiders defense. They will be successful if they take the ball away from the opposing offense. That's forcing fumbles, that's interceptions. That's, to me, just getting off the field on third down. That essentially is a takeaway for me. And that goes back to your question about the pass rush, Amber. So if they got a good pass rush, stopping the run and creating turnovers, those are the 3 keys or aspects I think that can get this Raiders defense into that top 10.
Thanks so much for joining us for the 2025 season preview show. Stick to all Raiders platforms for up-to-date Raiders content throughout the season. Don't forget to watch Talk of the Nation with Baron Davis, the Silver and Black Show, as well as Raiders Roundtable and Raiders Game Day. I'm Amber Theoharis. I'll see you next time.